Welcome to another Method Man episode. Today we are going to simplify the cube root of monomials. But before we get to the harder questions, let's first go through the basics so you really understand what's going on. When you are taking the cube root of something like cube root of 8 right here, and it's got that little 3 on what used to be just a square root, then you're really just asking yourself this question: what to the third power gets me 8? And that one's pretty easy. You can do it in your head. The answer to that is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So the answer to this is 2. And this is really what's going on. 8 can be written, like what we said, as 2 times 2 times 2, right? So anytime I get a 3 of a kind like that, where I'm multiplying the same thing 3 times, then it will just equal whatever that thing is, 2. And you'll see that later when we start to do prime factorization. What to the third power gets me negative 27. And that one, you got to think about it a little bit. That will be negative 3. If I take negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, any 3 of a kind that I'm multiplying together and they're the same thing, it's just going to be whatever that is that I'm multiplying 3 times. That is how you take it out of the cube root. Even if it's variables like this, that's still 3 of a kind, right? Because x to the third power just really means x times x times x. There's my 3 of a kind. So the cube root of x to the third is just x. So if you get something like this, they kind of cancel each other off and you're just left with an x. I'm going through more difficult things and we'll start taking shortcuts when we see this. Let's say I have x to the 6th and cube root has the same rule as square root. I'm allowed to split up the multiplication like this. That means the same thing. 2 groups of x to the third, because x to the third times x to the third is still x to the 6th. That just comes down to x times x, which equals x squared. So to skip this step right here, we can expedite this process. All we got to really do is take that, and you're trying to see how many groups of 3 I have in there. So you're really just dividing this number by 3. And that's how we got 2. And for the last part, let's say I got a negative number, right? What to the third power gets me negative 10? I tricked you with that one. There is no whole number that I can multiply to itself 3 times to get 10. But think about it this way so you understand what I'm doing later. I can split up negative 10 as negative 1 times positive 10. This one I can't simplify, but this one right here, what to the third power gets me negative 1, and that equals negative 1, right? So the cube root of negative 1 is just negative 1 times the cube root of 10, so that can be written as negative cube root of 10. So the shortcut is like, I don't expect you to do that for all your problems. That's too much work. If it has a negative in the inside, you could just take it outside right away. When you get this, the strategy is to break these up into its prime factors. So you just got to ask yourself, what are 2 numbers that multiply to 56? And that is 7 times 8. And anytime you got a prime number, try to mark it, try to put a dot or circle it. Some people circle it because I can't break those numbers down anymore. But 8 I can into 4 times 2. There's my other prime number. And 4 I can break down to 2 times 2. And both of these are prime, right? I need to look for 3 of a kind to take it out of that cube root. So there's 1, 2, 3. There's my 3 of a kind. And as soon as I get 3 of a kind, and think about what we did earlier, 2 times 2 times 2, the cube root of that, because that's still in the cube root, is just 2. We can write the 2 on the outside. After I take it out, I cross it off so I don't rewrite anything twice. All I'm left with is this 7. So the cube root of 56 is the same thing as 2 times cube root of 7. So we're done with the 56. With the variables, all I had to do is look at the exponent and figure out how many groups of 3's are in there. And 6 can be evenly divided by 3. There's 2 groups of 3's in there. So I can cross this out and write y squared on the outside. When it cannot be evenly divided by 3, here's what you do with that exponent. You just have to do some simple long division. and you're trying to see how many groups of 3's fit into 7, and that is just 2 with a remainder of 1. So really what you're doing here is saying that there's 2 groups of 3 and a remainder of 1z. So for each group of 3, I can take it out, and that's 2z's I took out, so z squared on the outside, and there is 1z left over in the inside. And that is it. That is it. Let's try it again. Let's try another problem. Don't even freak out when there's a 2 on the outside. Just disregard that for now. The first thing I look at is this negative right here. And what we said in the basic stuff, if there is a negative in there, you could automatically take it outside. So prime factorization of 24, 2 numbers that multiply to 24 are 8 and 3. And break down 8 again, because this one's prime. 8 can break down to 4 times 2. 4 can break down to 2 times 2, and these are all prime right here. As you can see, we got another group of 3 right here of 2's, so I can take that outside. So let's start rewriting stuff. The negative 2 was there out originally. Then we took out another 2 because I had 3 of a kind right here, right? So the only thing left in the cube root as a number is 3. All right, m to the 4th, how many groups of 3 fit in there? And you can kind of do the division in your head. There's 1 group of 3, so we can split this up as m3 times m. 1 group of 3 can be taken out, so we can write an m on the outside, and I have 1 left over in the inside. So now I'm done with the m's, and we move on to the n's. N to the 5th, how many groups of 3 can fit in there? And you can probably start doing this in your head. You can imagine that there's n to the 3rd here times n squared. And this one I can take out because it's a group of 3. So I can write an n on the outside, and I have n squared left in the inside. We just got to simplify one more thing right here, which is negative 2 times 2. So the final answer is negative 4m times n times the cube root of 3mn squared. But hopefully this helped. If it did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.